Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into something that just came across my radar regarding Tiffany Henyard and Thornton Township. On the screen, I'm displaying what is allegedly a letter from Thornton Township Clerk Loretta Wells. Before we get started, if you're new here and enjoy this content, please give this video a like. And for my returning subscribers, don't forget to leave a like as well. Let's dive in. The letter reads, "Dear Judge, I, Loretta Wells, am writing to request removal from the Thornton Township Electoral Board. As clerk of the township, I understand it is my obligation to serve on this board. However, I believe outside public members with their knowledge and expertise would best serve in this role. Additionally, I am physically and mentally exhausted due to the dysfunction within our township and the daily responsibilities of my position as clerk. I respectfully ask that you consider removing me as a member of the electoral board. Thank you, Loretta Wells, Clerk, Thornton Township." This letter is a huge red flag to me for several reasons. First, Loretta openly admits to being physically and mentally exhausted due to the dysfunction within the township. That's a serious statement. From what I've observed of her interactions with Tiffany Henyard during meetings, Loretta seems biased in Tiffany's favor. Personally, I feel she's Team Tiffany, though she tries to appear neutral. Here's my question. Why does Loretta suddenly want to step down from the electoral board when she acknowledges it's her duty as clerk? She claims that outside public members are more qualified, knowledgeable, and experienced. Yet hasn't she been doing this job for some time? She's been in those closed executive sessions where internal township matters are discussed. Why wouldn't she want to uphold her responsibilities? I can't help but wonder if Loretta is facing pressure from Tiffany Henyard. Let's be real. Anyone working closely with Tiffany likely faces pressure. Maybe Loretta is being asked to compromise her morals and she's unwilling to cross that line. Perhaps she doesn't want to put her reputation or her freedom at risk, especially given the potential legal issues that Tiffany Henyard might face. Looking into Loretta's background, she seems like someone who enjoys life and is very involved in politics. Her husband, Terry Wells, was appointed to the South Suburban College Board of Trustees in 2001 and became chairman on January 20th, 2022, succeeding the late Frank Zuccarelli. If you're not familiar, Frank was the former township supervisor who passed away suddenly, and Tiffany Henyard succeeded him shortly after. Similarly, Terry Wells stepped into his role following Frank's death. It's worth noting the political connections here. Loretta and her husband likely share the same political outlook, given their close ties to township affairs. For those unfamiliar with the clerk's responsibilities, they serve as the official custodian of Thornton Township's records. Their job is to safeguard, preserve, and manage documents for public access while ensuring transparency. This includes ensuring that meeting minutes are accurate, votes are properly recorded, and records are posted promptly. However, in a recent incident, a resident called Loretta out for inaccuracies in meeting minutes, highlighting concerns about transparency and accountability. Let's take a look at what happened.
Last but not least, I am concerned about the accuracy of Clerk Wells' reporting. On the township's website, her minutes from October 30th meeting showed that a motion to approve a tax refund passed through. No quorum was present. How is that possible? Thank you.
As we heard from the resident, there wasn't even a quorum, so how could a vote have been passed, right? The Lansing Journal, which covered this, added a quick note saying that the clerk did go in and correct the mistake shortly after. That's true. You won't find the incorrect vote listed on the website now if you check the meeting minutes. However, this resident was sharp and on top of things, calling out the mistake. It could have been an honest mistake, but when I listen to some of the meetings and review the notes, I notice that certain information is often left out. I'm not sure if this is because the clerk is summarizing or if she intentionally leaves things out. For example, when Tiffany Henyard refers to Carmen Carrile as Carmen Carlier.
Unfortunately, the Board of Trustees, Chris and also Carmen Carlier, the Board of Trustees did not show up. And I just told you the two people that did show up, Carmen Carlier and also Gonzalez. People have not showed up in the trustees, Trustee Carlier and Trustee Gonzalez. And I want to tell you how legal and corrupt the two individuals are. Trustee Carmen Carlier for a forensic audit of Keith Freeman credit cards, and also Carmen Carlisle, credit cards. I am seeking the removal of trustee Carmen Carlisle because she's a liar.
I don't think I've ever seen the clerk include that in the meeting notes, and that's a significant issue. Tiffany Henyard is supposed to be a leader and the supervisor of the township, yet there seems to be a bias where the clerk won't actually write down what comes out of Tiffany's mouth. Once it's in writing, it's there for everyone to see and revisit. People would look at it and think, wow, this is a supervisor? How did she get into this position? But you won't find that in the official notes because the clerk chose to leave it out. That's another reason why I feel she's Team Tiffany. She's unwilling to document some of the things Tiffany says. Even though we have video recordings, it's still concerning that it's not written down in the official records. Now, another reason why I believe the clerk doesn't want to be on the electoral board is because of something I found in the Lansing Journal. Shout out to them for their thorough reporting on this situation and the issues surrounding Thornton Township and Tiffany Henyard. There's an upcoming election for the replacement of a trustee in Thornton Township. If the clerk is serving as an elector on this board, she'll have to help choose the new trustee. I suspect she doesn't want the fallout that could come from her decision. I'll flash the article from the Lansing Journal about this event. It's set to take place on January 21st, and I really hope they'll be there to cover it. We'll be able to see what unfolds, but I'm wondering how long the clerk is willing to stay aligned with Tiffany Henyard, especially if it means risking her own freedom for someone who, to me, acts like a child. Someone who does whatever she wants without regard for others and who doesn't follow any rules. Everyone else is just collateral damage in her war, like FIA Dukes. For those who don't know, FIA Dukes was a former assistant of Tiffany Henyard. She came forward to let Tiffany know that trustee Andrew Holmes from Dolton had assaulted her. Tiffany allegedly tried to sweep it under the rug and then fired FIA Dukes shortly afterward. This situation has resurfaced recently, with a strong force, because there's an audio recording on a YouTube channel that details the night of the alleged assault. I won't play it here, but you can check it out if you'd like. Just a heads up, the audio is hard to listen to. The language used by Andrew Holmes is extremely derogatory, and when you listen to the words coming out of his mouth, it's disgusting. It might even make you want to throw up. I just want to warn anyone who has experienced trauma like this that it could be triggering. Getting back to the clerk and why I think she wants to be removed from the electoral board, I see this as the first step in her trying to distance herself from making decisions that directly connect her to Tiffany Henyard, just like many others have done. Take Keith Freeman, Tiffany Henyard's former right-hand man, for example. He turned on Tiffany and is now cooperating with the 4 Dolton trustees who oppose her. Keith did a lot of shady things during his time working under Tiffany, but it's unclear whether he was the one driving those actions or if Tiffany was instructing him. My guess is that Tiffany made her wishes clear, and Keith simply followed orders, just like the rest of her allies, with no regard for who would become casualties in the Henyard War.
Now, things I've seen, I can confirm that she and he told us to hold the warrant list from the trustees. You know why? She said, because we are at war, and how do we give our opponent resources to help them?
Next, we have trustee Christopher Gonzalez, who has been very outspoken in his opposition to Henyard's rule. Although Gonzalez was the one who initially nominated Tiffany Henyard for the supervisor position, he was the first to recognize the grave mistake he had made. Now it seems he's trying to make up for that rash decision by standing up to Henyard without fear, taking every opportunity to oppose her at every turn.
Your thinking in nominating her after this long process? I mean, just as a whole, I just felt that I was hoping we could get somebody that was a little bit younger for the role. I felt it was time that we could possibly, and I mean, I wasn't like honed in on that, but the people that, were a woman. I just thought that would be somebody, that was a little bit younger, a woman. She went straight to Frank's office, and, sat in the chair. And she just kept basically yelling, what are they going to think now? What are they going to say now? Speaking of the Dolton trustees. I guess, like I said, there was already a rift. I didn't know that. So I'm thinking to myself, and then so I went to Keith on the side and I said, what is she talking about? I said, is the board against her in Dolton? And he said, yeah. And I said, who? He's like, everybody.
Next, we have trustee Carmen Caro, who also turned on Tiffany Henyard. She started asking tough questions during board meetings and refused to be a rubber stamp for Tiffany's spending.
Okay, so they did request that there be an additional car because the original ordinance did only have the finance director, Robert Hunt, listed. And according to my knowledge, I know the previous administration for 29 years only had one credit card, and they were able to successfully handle township business with that one credit card. And I know that there are a lot of things going on, a lot of spending, a lot of questions that sometimes don't get answered. But one thing I will say is I know the supervisor is bonded, so anything she does is protected under that bond. So I think that it is her responsibility to make sure she knows what's going on with money. It's her responsibility to have a credit card again.
Tiffany now refers to her as Trust Carmen Carlier at every opportunity, which is typical behavior for childish bullies. When they don't get their way, they resort to insults and name-calling. Next, we have Trustee Jerry Jones, or rather, former Trustee Jerry Jones, as he resigned on October 7, 2024. Jerry was also a strong supporter of Tiffany Henyard and was very optimistic about her ability to accomplish great things.
Mr. Jones, your thoughts on Ms. Henyard as the new supervisor?
Well, in this day and age, it's a saying that we got to keep having there. If not now, then when? And we got a young lady that has the potential to take this township to some great heights. I was excited about the opportunity when it came around. I nominated a lot of people, but when it came to her, I mean, I'm not saying it's a third choice or anything like that. You know, she could be good for it.
Haven't we seen this before? Just like all the others, Jerry Jones eventually stopped drinking the Kool-Aid and started questioning things during the board meetings.
All right, thank you. With that being said, in the event that this ordinance is changed, who works with the board to make sure that it's pushed forward the way that it could be equitable for everybody? Everybody have a meeting, everybody is, what is it called, compromised when it comes to finance director. That question, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have looked at you while I asked that. Should look at the supervisor. Who would be involved?
Robert said he knows business and all that.
I just wanted to say that because I know that when there was a question about certain things that was asked of the finance director, it was said that they have to go through advice.
It wasn't long after Jerry Jones began questioning things that he decided to resign from his trustee position. So what's the common theme here? People who once stood with Tiffany Henyard either become casualties of her war, like FIA Dukes, or they become outspoken advocates against the alleged corruption they witnessed while supporting her. Let's talk about the clerk a bit more. I believe she's slowly distancing herself from the decision-making involving Tiffany Henyard. After Jerry Jones resigned, a vacancy needed to be filled, and naturally, Tiffany wanted to appoint someone who would simply vote yes to whatever she wanted, without question, much like Trustee Carmen Carrow used to do, until she woke up and started asking questions. However, the other trustees were aware of Tiffany's tactics, so they chose not to show up to board meetings and let the clock run down. This allowed the vote to go to the residents, giving them the chance to elect the next trustee. One of the ongoing lies Tiffany has been spreading is that, because the trustees haven't shown up to meetings, the township's insurance cannot be renewed. According to her, without insurance, many services would be stopped, including transportation, for seniors and people who need help getting to doctor's appointments, grocery stores, and other essential places.